Yo, 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 it's your boy Night Soil coming at you with some more Game of Thrones spoiling information. This time it's coming from a historical evidence source. We all know that when he wasn't fighting the wildlings, or when he wasn't fighting the undead, or if he wasn't fighting his own emotions about being a bastard and then being illegitimate and then being maybe even part dragon, God only knows. Jon Snow was also a physician out of England and a little bit of Paris. He was in Paris a lot in this book, and he wrote on chloroform and other anesthetics because he was getting high constantly on this ship, and that's what he did. Anyway, Jon Snow, that name was taken, we all know, G.R.R. Martin, took that name because of a dental surgery he had, I believe, and gave it to the best character on his book at that point, which was later a show. And so what we're going to be doing is drawing. What you don't know is actually inside of this book there are hidden clues about how the season's going to unfold. First and foremost, these initial videos are going to be building some credibility that this is real, and our valuable fake first edition, which is probably from 1937 supposedly, because it was defaced then at least. I actually thought that was real, and I fell for it pretty good. So this was, of course, after Jon Snow died. That's why they have the memoir of the author. It's because when he was originally stabbed at the wall and before he was resurrected, this book was published by Mr. Benjamin Stark, Richardman, as it were. So, welcome to Dr. Jon Snow Represents, brought to you by your boy Night Soil, courtesy of the Mesilla Park Artistic Cooperative, which, if you didn't know, now you know. More importantly, let me put some words on here that don't look like real words, but I promise they are. Zenity Ragosin. If you want actual information about Game of Thrones, read her work, because I guarantee I will bet my dragon glass on it, which I have over here. I'll bet these pieces of dragon glass right here. They're kissing. That George R.R. Martin, we could say, sampled her work, to say the least. But and in doing so, he shows exquisite taste. She's an amazing writer, and very dead. So, Dr. Jon Snow Represents. Because the age of this book, I really don't like opening it, so I've actually taken the liberty of photocopying a variety of sections, and this one is from page 201, a section called Applications. This is written in the voice of Jon Snow. He writes in the third person. Very postmodern guy. In the midst of an afternoon's tea, case number 71, by the way. In the midst of an afternoon's tea, Qyburn, my former apprentice and non-licensed practitioner of the dark healing arts, stormed into the consulting space. Apparently, a duel had ended with the death of a Cornish Prince who suffered devastating maxillofacial trauma consequent of having the mountain's avalanche fall upon him. I don't know what that means. This patient was beyond recovery. There wasn't even a place to put the mask on his face. It was a footnote that was in the book I didn't include here. Qyburn's intended recipient of the chloroform was the Highlander Sir Gregor Clegane from Scotland. Patient presents with a slash wound from a spear on the lower right leg. Wound appears inflamed with a greenish-blue discharge efflusively cascading from wound. Chloroform regulator proved too small for mouth of patient, and his spasmodic thrashings prevented direct application upon the rag. Qyburn eventually drags the body from the consulting hall before my tea lost its heat fully. So there you go. There you go. Clue number one, that George R.R. Martin is pulling much more than we knew from these other books, including Dr. Jon Snow. This links us with a Cornish Prince and a Highlander named Sir Gregor Clegane, and a bad duel that they fought through. Interestingly enough, the wounds are there and everything else. And case number 72, we'll get into later, right there, because that's actually involving Gregor Clegane's little brother. So here we go. Ah, that's funny. This is a case history. Case number 420. There was at this time a fad, so to speak, of abusing oneself therapeutically with obsidian that all the small folk now called dragon glass. I have not the time to correct the frantic men dressed in black who carried a man who, after being run through with a lance made of ice, then sought to effect his own cure thereafter by shoving shards of obsidian into his own heart. That's some heavy stuff right there, and it sounds a lot like Benjamin Stark. Let's read on here. And can you imagine just jamming that guy right in your heart? Nope. How about this one? A little better. A little better. Patient presents with severe abdominal wound, the cause of which supposedly melted during transit. Always a convenient excuse and reason to wound someone with ice. Patient also has a large self-inflicted chest wound with obsidian protruding from his chest that he, even though just barely conscious, keeps attempting to further introduce the object farther into his heart. This guy's an animal. Give me the gas, Dr. Snow, the man hissed, his free hand grabbing my own arm with astonishing strength. Chloroform was administered using the Snow brand regulator, which the patient, not becoming totally unconscious, but instead remained inured to the pain, shoving the glass further into his heart. While I left to take my kettle from the stove, I returned and the men were gone, leaving their fee. I don't know what you guys think about that. The first one here, we have an obvious case of, Dr. Snow consults with his old assistant, Qyburn, a non-licensed practitioner of the dark healing arts, only in England, I can say that. There was a Cornish Prince who suffered devastating maxillofacial trauma, consequent of having a mountain's avalanche fall upon him. Cut and dry. Cut and dry. In your case, 420, there at a time, when people stabbing themselves with obsidian, which we know goes on in Westeros all the time. People love stabbing themselves with dragon glass. I think it's getting them high. Just like Jon Snow. What do you guys think? Is the dragon glass getting people high? Is the chloroform actually helping create spooky, definitely not Lord of the Rings influenced ranger type characters existing beyond the wall? I don't know. All I know is that Zenity Ragosin, if she were alive, could answer all of these questions for us and then also explain how else Mr. G.R.R.M was borrowing a bit. Mind you, there's a proud tradition of this occurring in literature. Asimov did the same thing with the decline and fall of the Roman Empire, so having her do it with the rise and fall of civilization, it makes sense. That's it. I'm your boy Night Soil. This is Mesilla Park Artistic Collaborative. Let me know.